live some dramatic cinematic life. There weren't slow-motion kisses in the rain or candlelit dinners with string quartets, but it was ours, and it was peaceful. Her name was Haley. We shared a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat in a small, boring town surrounded by even smaller, even more boring towns. But we liked it that way. She liked her coffee black with a single drop of milk. I liked mine sweet as hell, and she teased me for it every morning. She left her sock on the floor. I left the cabinet doors open. We didn't fight often. When we did, we'd always end up tangled in blankets, whispering sorries and I love yous into each other's necks. Some nights we'd fall asleep watching trash TV with the volume too low. Some nights we'd just listen to music and talk about the future, about the cabin we'd someday build, the dog we'd adopt, the stupid names we'd give our imaginary kids. It was quiet. It was simple. Now it's gone. It happened on a Thursday. The kind of crisp, overcast afternoon where the clouds hung low and everything smelled like cold pine and wet concrete. I remember it clearly, probably because I keep replaying it in my head. Like an unfinished movie I'm not allowed to stop watching. Haley had been buzzing all week. She'd been talking about this weekend camping trip for days. Said it would be good for her to unplug for a bit, reconnect with a few of her old college friends. I hadn't met most of them, just heard the names in passing. Brooke, Julien, maybe a guy named Max. I didn't press much. We trusted each other. She stood in the doorway with her backpack already slung over her shoulder. Denim jacket, the sleeves rolled up to her elbows. Messy bun. The kind she always claimed was lazy, but I thought was perfect. Worn out hiking boots, with those loose laces double knotted like a ritual. A thermos in her hand. That same tired red thermos with the chipped lips she refused to throw away. "I'll text you when I get there," she said, turning slightly to me at a glance from under her brow. "And don't eat all the cereal while I'm gone. I will know." I said, pulling her in for a quick kiss, letting my hands linger on her waist like maybe I knew deep down that something was off. I just didn't want to say it. "You'll be fine," she added, and with a smile. "It's 2 nights. I'll be back before you start missing me." She waved, walked out, and climbed into her car. I stood at the window and watched her pull away. Her taillights disappeared behind the hill. It was the last time I ever saw her. That evening was quiet. Too quiet, honestly. I was expecting a buzz from my phone, a photo maybe, of them setting up their tents. Some dumb group selfie with the caption, "Camping Nerds Unite!" But nothing came. Still, I didn't panic, not yet. I figured they'd lost reception. It was the woods, after all. We'd driven through that area before, and I remember the bars on my phone vanishing just 10 minutes off the main road. They were probably drinking warm beer, laughing around the fire, playing cards by flashlight. Haley was always a little terrible at texting when she was out with friends. Still, there was a nagging itch under my skin I couldn't explain, a tension in my jaw that wouldn't relax. I went to sleep with my phone next to me, volume up, screen brightness on max. Nothing. When I woke up, sunlight was already pouring through the blinds. I reached for my phone immediately. No text, no call. Just that same notification from the night before. Haley's location last updated 14 hours ago. I tapped it again. Still the same dot, same coordinates. A spot right outside the forest near Crow's Field Trail Head. I stared at it for a long time, zoomed in, zoomed out. Nothing else nearby. I waited another hour, made coffee. Drank none of it. At 11 a.m. I texted her, no reply. At noon, I called, straight to voicemail. I left her a message, something dumb and casual like, "Hey babe, hope you're having fun out there. Just checking in. Let me know you're alive when you get the chance." I tried to keep the tremble out of my voice. By the time night fell again, I was a wreck. Pacing the living room, chewing the skin around my thumbs until they bled. The glow of her location pin still burning into my retinas. Last updated 1 day ago. Something was wrong. I knew it. Deep in my gut. Saturday morning, I started calling her friends, every single one of them. Brooke, Julien, Max, the others. Voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. At first I thought, maybe they weren't near their phones. Maybe they were still out there laughing, unaware that someone back home was spiraling. But by afternoon, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I called the police. They took it seriously at first. Asked for names, contact information, where she was headed, what she packed. I told them everything. Then came the words I'll never forget. The officer cleared his throat and said, "There's no record of a planned trip. No one else has reported being with her. According to her friends, they've all been home since Thursday." I blinked. What? No. She told me, she said... "I understand," the officer said. "But they all confirmed it. No trip, no camping." My stomach dropped like I was falling through the floor. They were lying. Or something was wrong. That night they filed the missing person report, and by Sunday they assembled a search team. The forest where her phone last pinged was about 45 minutes away. Crow's Field Trail. Dense, remote. The same place we used to pass on our way to visit her uncle's lake house. I used to joke that it looked like something out of the Blair Witch. She'd always shudder and say, "Let's never camp there." And we never did. Till now. I found her car parked neatly in the dirt lot just past the tree line. Doors locked. Nothing inside disturbed. Phone charger still plugged into the dash. But no footprints. No camping gear. No trail. Just nothing. Like she had stepped out of the car and vanished. They searched for days. Helicopters buzzed overhead. Dogs barked and howled through the forest. Volunteers combed the trails with orange vests and walkie-talkies. Nothing. Not a piece of cloth, not a wrapper, not a shoe print. Not her. And just like that, the search ended. Resources drained. Interest faded. She was labeled missing presumed deceased. And everyone moved on. Everyone except me. I tried to move on. God, I tried. The first week I stayed curled up in bed, the smell of her still clinging to the sheets. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined the door unlocking and her voice filling the apartment. It never did. Eventually I made myself get up, go back to work, pretend to function. But everything felt hollow. Food tasted like paper. Music felt like static. And every mirror reflected a version of me I didn't recognize. Sunken eyes, brittle, always scanning behind myself like I expected something to lurch from the corners. I forced myself to eat again, clean the apartment. I even went into her Spotify and deleted her account. Not out of spite, but because it hurt, hearing her playlists pop up randomly. The ones she made with names like Sad Girl Autumn or Songs to Scream into Pillows. It was like getting stabbed in the ribs. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't stop thinking, couldn't stop obsessing, because it didn't make sense. Haley wasn't the kind of person who just vanished. She planned everything weeks in advance. She was cautious, practical. She double-checked locks, triple-checked plans. She'd never just go off the grid without telling anyone. And that text she sent me, the one about going camping, the more I thought about it, the more it itched at my brain. It wasn't her. It was short, too sterile. No exclamation marks, no dumb emojis. She always put 3 sparkles after the word woods. Always. And this message, it felt like someone had copied her. Like someone was trying to be her and failing. 3 weeks after she vanished, I couldn't take it anymore. No more sitting. No more waiting for someone to do something. If the cops weren't going to keep looking, I would. I drove out the trailhead myself. Same stretch of dirt road. Same pine lane path that had swallowed her whole. I parked in the exact same spot where her car was found. It looked so normal, so boring. Like nothing terrible had ever happened here. I stared out through the windshield for a long time before stepping out. The air smelled like damp moss and something older. Like rot wrapped in pine needles. I'd packed light. Food, flashlight, pocket knife, a camera, and one more thing. Her scarf. Wool, forest green, still smelled like her shampoo. I tied it around my wrist like a charm. Told myself I'd search until sunset, then head back. But I was lying. I didn't plan to leave, not until I found her. The deeper I walked, the quieter it got. Not the kind of quiet where things are calm. The kind where it feels like the forest is watching you. Like it's holding its breath. No birds, no bugs, no wind. Just the sound of my own boots crunching on the undergrowth. Felt wrong. Wrong. The trees weren't just trees anymore. They were walls. Too tall, too thick. Their trunks twisted slightly, like they were leaning in to listen. I followed what looked like a game trail. A barely there footpath winding between ferns and stones. It didn't look like anyone had walked in it for years. I kept walking. Hours passed. The sun dipped behind the trees and turned the world dim and colorless. And then I saw it. Not a tent, not a sign of her, but something worse. A tree. Tall, dead, bleached bone white, like it had been drained of everything living. And around it, figures. Stickmen. Crude humanoid shapes made of twigs, vines, and hair. Human hair. Blonde strands. Some were hanging from the branches, swinging gently, though there was no wind. Others were stabbed into the earth around the base of the tree, forming a circle, an altar, a warning. I thought maybe it was an art piece, a prank. Some demented hiker's idea of a joke. But then I saw the markings. Dozens of carvings all over the trunk of the tree. Symbols, runes, maybe vertical lines with branching forks, concentric spirals with slashes, jagged X's, and among them, her name, Haley. Carved over and over and over, some neat, some sloppy, all deep, violent. I staggered back, my breath catching in my throat. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Not loud, not near, but there. A breeze? No, a voice. But not like a person laughing. It was off, mocking. Like a sound filtered through a broken speaker. Or someone imitating laughter without knowing what it really meant. It drifted through the trees like mist. And I ran. I don't remember much of the sprint. Branches tore at my sleeves. Something sliced my cheek. My lungs screamed, my legs burned. But I ran like something ancient and hungry was chasing me. 'Cause maybe it was. I burst through a thicket and into a clearing and stopped. There was nothing there, except for one thing, a photo. Lying perfectly center on the forest floor. No dirt on it, no tears. Like it had just been placed there. I picked it up, hands shaking. It was her, standing in our apartment, wearing my hoodie, smiling. But the background, it wasn't our home. The walls were wooden, cabin walls. The windows were boarded up, and behind her, a tall figure. Black suit, no face. Pale, featureless head. Arms too long, too thin. Hanging like ropes. I dropped the photo. My legs almost gave out. My stomach twisted so violently I nearly threw up. I don't remember the hike back. Just the burning in my lungs and the sound of twigs snapping behind me like something was following me. When I finally reached my car and slammed the door shut, I sat there for 10 full minutes, just staring through the windshield, waiting for something, anything, to lurch out of the tree line. And before I left, I looked back one last time. There was something in the woods, far off, just at the edge of sight. Tall, still, arms too long, no face. Watching. Even at that distance, I felt it. Not like fear, not like panic, like recognition. Like something in me knew it, had always known it. Something ancient and buried inside me was responding. And that terrified me more than anything else. That night, the nightmares finally began. But it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like being dragged. I was lying in bed, or what I thought was my bed. The sheets were cold, and the ceiling above me was wrong. Too high, too dark. It bent inward like an old cathedral, beams of rotten wood sagging above. I sat up. The walls of my bedroom had vanished. In their place were trees, thin, endless trees stretching up into a sky I couldn't see. And in the middle of it, Haley stood, barefoot, still wearing my hoodie, the sleeves covering her hands. But her face, her mouth was smiling, wide and stretched, and too still. But her eyes, or where her eyes should have been, were too deep. Black hollows like something had scooped them out. She didn't blink, she didn't move. I wanted to run to her, scream her name, but my voice died in my throat like I was caught on thorns. She tilted her head slightly and whispered, not with her mouth, but inside my head.
He lets me remember you.
and I'm good. Then she lifted a hand and pointed behind me. I turned, and he was there, closer than ever. Not walking, not emerging, just existing. One moment, there was nothing. The next, he was present. Slender Man, unmoving, inhumanly tall, dressed like a man who had never lived. Black suit, thin tie, clothes hanging like skin. No face, no mouth, no expression. Just a blank, pale head that ached to look at. I could feel his limbs, not arms, not really, unraveling around me. Long tendrils stretching into the trees, curling through branches like veins under skin. He didn't breathe, he didn't speak, but I felt his voice inside me. A pressure, a presence, a memory that wasn't mine.
You asked to find her.
The forest twisted. Reality warped, the trees coiling, the sky cracking like old glass. My vision tunneled. I couldn't move. Then Haley's voice, again, quieter this time, almost pleading. He keeps us where time can't touch, where names fade, where everything stops hurting. I looked back at her, and she was closer, crying now. But the tears ran upward. She opened her mouth, and from inside came a sound that wasn't human, like a radio stuck between stations. Then everything went black. I woke up in my own bed, soaked in sweat, mouth open, gasping like I nearly drowned. 2:16 a.m. And that's when I heard it. Knocking. 3 knocks, slow, measured, on the living room window. I stayed in bed, frozen. Then 4 more knocks, on the back window. Then 3 again, now on the window beside me, even though I lived on the 2nd floor. I couldn't look, couldn't move, just lay there, eyes wide, heart pounding. It's been happening every night since. The knocking, the dreams, the whispers. Sometimes I wake up with mud on my feet. Sometimes I wake up with drawings on my walls, stick figures in red, symbols etched into the plaster. Sometimes I find her scarf hanging from the ceiling fan, even though I buried it in a locked box in the basement. The police stopped taking my calls. Friends have ghosted me. Everyone thinks I lost my mind. Maybe I did. But I know what I saw, what I felt. Slender Man isn't a story. He's not fiction. He's something older. Something that doesn't need to be seen to exist. He lives in the forgotten places. The spaces between grief and madness. He preys on memory, on obsession, on people who look too long into the dark, hoping to find someone they lost. And sometimes he shows them what they're looking for, but never for free.